Hello, and welcome to another edition of Focus. I'm your host, Vernon L. Bowling. 40 years, almost. We're almost close to 40 years. To be exact, about 38 years. We've been presenting you Focus. We've been talking to various community leaders. We've been talking about different events. You name it, we've talked about it that affect the African American community. And for all those 40 years, there's only been a few people who've been connected with Focus. And every now and then you'll hear me talk about Tony. Well, he's very, very important towards the show, getting it on the air, edited, shooting it, and doing everything else. And myself, who's been hosting it. But from time to time, we try to have other people who come on and show a little interest in doing it. One of those such persons are Fatimah Halim. Fatimah is a household word in the Valley, Afrocentric, very connected to the community, and a lot of you know her. She's gonna be presenting shows, and she's gonna be still bring you things that affect the African American community. So please, don't touch the remote. We're gonna be trying to stay up with the times. This and more when Focus continues.
My husband was deployed in October of 2009.
After he left, everything just felt like it sank.
Just didn't really like life at the time.
The hardest thing was just trying to figure out a new routine.
When you're a military family, things like the arts really are extra here at ASU Gannett. The Arizona Lottery enables 200 military dependents to come to the theater 3 times a year. This is our way of saying thank you, and we can never say thank you enough.
My winning streak in life didn't begin with a ranch I'd always imagined. It didn't begin when I bought my very first horse, or with a 10-gallon hat I was thirsting for. It began with a hope and a dream, and of course, that wonderful winning ticket. The Arizona Lottery. You can't win if you don't play.
Hello, I'm Vernon L. Bowling, and welcome back to Focus. Fatimah has been really bringing that information to us. We're gonna get right back to her right now. Fatimah?
Thank you, Vernon. We have an incredible show. This is part 2 of something that we started last week. And with me today is Isis Rasul, Nazla Hassan, Rashida Worthy. And we have been talking about different topics that impact us as women, impact us as mothers, impact us as African Americans. And it's been exciting, which is why we decided to do 2 parts to this. And we want to continue this format because I find it pretty interesting as well. So one of the things that we were just talking about was stopping black men or driving while black. And Rashida, you mentioned that your husband is stopped at least once a month. And here your husband is a former NBA player, a former basketball player. He's also a business owner and a very, very well respected and recognized in the community. And he has been stopped. Why do they stop him so much?
Because he's 6'5", he's black, and he drives a Range Rover.
Exactly.
So he must be a drug dealer.
Oh, so when they stop him, what do they say?
Anything. Sometimes they just pull him over and ask him social questions. Sometimes they pull him over and they know him. Sometimes, whatever the initial reason for pulling him over is, we're never quite sure. I've been in the car at times before and we've been pulled over. Sometimes they pull him over. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? So it's very seldom. And all the times that I've known that he's been pulled over, I believe only once has he ever received a ticket.
Now, you said that you gave a good idea because one of the things you asked Isis is, what do you tell your sons in terms of if they're pulled over? One of the things you said, Rashida, was that your husband always calls you. Hopefully he pulls that phone out before the police come because they may think he's pulling out a gun.
It's a minute when you're, and then also he has the Bluetooth so he can hit his screen and dial me. But it's a minute by the time that you come out, pull you over, you pull over. So it's pretty easy to call someone. Yeah, it's kind of just like a checks and balances thing. Like just letting me know I'm getting pulled over right now. I'm on 16th Street and wherever, or I'm on Hayden and wherever.
Right.
It allows me to know, like, after a certain amount of time that goes by, if he hasn't called me back, like, you know, what's going on.
check.
It just gives me some additional information because, unfortunately, I still have the fear that sometimes when I sit in my home and hear sirens, or sometimes when I sit in my home and I hear the helicopter, I think of my husband first. And I don't think you should have to feel like that.
I don't either. I don't think
But
anyone
I
should
do.
have to feel like
I
that.
do. I call him immediately, like, where are you?
Yeah, that's so. You had a good question. Your question is, what do you tell your sons? And you said that the answer that they would get probably from a black man as opposed to from someone else or even a black woman would be completely different. So what would you tell your son? I know I would tell my son to just keep your mouth shut and do what you're told.
I would tell them that. And I think that is the best answer, and that's the safest answer. But I also realize that, you know, it's you don't want to die. You know, you want your sons to come home, so you say that. But you know, right now there's so much racial tension that, you know, I also don't want him to be called a nigger and a punk by the police officer. I'm not saying by whatever happens, because those kind of memories never leave you.
So, but you can't
But
control
you do,
that.
No, I can't.
And
but I'm just saying that's part of my thought process.
So the police calls him that. Then what?
I mean,
You better
nothing.
just say,
be quiet and come home, sweetie.
Yeah, hello.
Mama deal with that later.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But that's unfortunate.
It is
that I
unfortunate.
have to have that thought.
Yeah.
And that I have to think about saying to him, you know, because like the youngest one, he knows police officers, good people. If I get lost, he's going to help me find my way home, or et cetera, et cetera. But the older ones, you know, see the stuff that are going on in society. So his view might be a little bit different of what he thinks of a police officer.
When I was in New York this summer, this individual, he was talking about distributing whistles so that when you see a police officer pulling over young boys in the community, everyone would have a whistle. And when you see the police officer harassing or hitting or beating with a baton or whatever, blow the whistle.
And pull out your camera.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
I think
the
people
camera is
already
very
doing that.
important.
Yeah.
I'll tell a quick story about a camera. I was going to my sister's house in Harlem, and a police officer pulled over a couple, and they were doing what they do, you know, searching them. And then finally they came around, told the woman to get out the car. It was a couple. Told the woman to get out the car. She got out the car. They told her to leave her purse in the car. So they put the two individuals behind the vehicle, and then they went to the woman's side, the passenger side, and went through her purse. And so I'm standing there videotaping it, and I told the woman, I said, "They are in your purse," and I'm videotaping, and the cop told me to keep moving. I said, "No, I have the right to stand here and videotape this." And that's something that, you know, people are doing now. They're videotaping. It's a very good idea. We need to pull out these cameras and videotape and teach our children. First of all, teach them not to hang out in the street, number one. We need to find things for them to do.
And that's
keep
easier
them
said than
off-
done, right?
No,
It's
well,
easier said than done.
But it's doable.
When
It's doable.
Well, I don't know. And I would like to think that it is. And perhaps maybe even in cities like New York, where there are a whole lot of things to do, it may be a little bit more doable than a place like Arizona when there's nothing to do. There are very few community centers that are open. As a matter of fact, the city is closing down a lot of them because of budgets. So there are very few places that the teenagers can go, maybe the little ones. But for the teenagers, there are very few places. There are not many jobs out here for them. So there's not much for them to do. So and here in Phoenix, they don't hang out in the street because it's too hot.
Exactly.
So,
They don't
that's a
do a
whole
lot of
nother
hanging
thing
out.
anyway. But even in New York, the streets are fun.
Well,
I mean, come on now.
Well, we're
I like
talking
hanging out
about-
in the street when I'm in New York.
Just not, well, okay, and so do I. You know, I walk
Yeah, right.
all the time.
You're
But
right.
we're talking about hanging out, holding up corner stores, you know, drinking liquor, and just being out.
And hold
you
on to
know.
that thought. Why is it every time you get ready to speak out, we got to take a break?
She's going to say something grand.
And it's going to last some time, but we'll be right back. Come back with us.
My husband was deployed in October of 2009.
After he left, everything just felt like it sank.
Just didn't really like life at the time.
The hardest thing was just trying to figure out a new routine.
When you're a military family, things like the arts really are extra here at ASU Gamage. The Arizona Lottery enables 200 military dependents to come to the theater 3 times a year. This is our way of saying thank you, and we can never say thank you enough.
My winning streak in life didn't begin with a ranch I'd always imagined. It didn't begin when I bought my very first horse, or with a 10-gallon hat I was thirsting for. It began with a hope and a dream, and of course, that wonderful winning ticket. The Arizona Lottery. You can't win if you don't play.
Hello, I'm Vernon L. Bowling, and welcome back to Focus. Fatima's been really bringing that information to us. We're going to get right back to her right now. Fatimah?
Great. Thanks for joining us. My name is Fatimah, and with me today on this incredible panel are very dear friends and family, and that would be Isis Rasul, Nazla Hassan, and Rashida Worthy. And we are talking about everything. Well, not everything, because everything really covers a lot. But I want to talk about real quick, because you know I have my Rites of Passage program. I deal with the young women. And one of the things that they come up with often is how some of them say that people say to them, well, the black girls, you talk right. What is that ignorance? What is that ignorance? That's what is. Are you saying that because I have mastered a language, or in the process of mastering the language, that now I talk white? Are you suggesting that if I'm articulate, then I am not black, and that black people are so ignorant that they can't speak well? I mean, what is that?
That's exactly what they're suggesting. I mean, it's happened to you, right? It's happened to me. It happens to Amani, my daughter. Mm-hmm. She has that, you know,
the command, her presence.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know how to fight that.
Well, maybe, hopefully parents are watching. And so we need to talk to the parents right now. What would you tell a parent of a child who says that to another child? You talk white. What would you tell the parent?
Well, likely if a child says that, they got it from the parents.
They got it.
Oh, yeah.
So
My 50-ish sister told me I sound white. 50-ish.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If the child is saying that, they likely got it from the parents.
No, seriously. She asked me, she said, well, I was going to make a phone call. She said, when you call, could you do me a favor? I said, sure, what? She said, try not to sound so white. I was shocked.
Ignorance.
I was shocked.
And that was recent, right?
That was about 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
So I really don't.
I think it's
you can't
like
put
we
too
bought
much
into the stereotheope that we
into
can't
that,
talk,
because
that we
it's
can't pronunciate, and so we actually are started to believe what they taught us as slaves, that you're not going to learn to read, you're not going to learn to write, you're not going to learn the language properly. We've bought into the stereotype that, oh, if you did, you're trying to be like them. Mm-hmm. You can't be like us.
House Negro.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's that same thing perpetuated. I still hear people talking, and no shade. I still hear people talking on social media about light skin versus dark skin.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, what the heck?
If they like anything about it, I'll unfriend them or I'll unfollow them.
Is that ignorant or what?
I feel like, you know what, you so ignorant, I don't even want to be in your social circle.
You're still having that
Thank
conversation.
you.
But it still happens.
2014 and you still talking crazy.
I had a person ask
and we
me
we wonder.
Yes.
And we wonder.
Right.
You know, so. I don't hear your voice, Zaire. I just want the world to know that Zaire is sitting over here, and I'm quite sure at some point you're going to say something out loud.
Get a break.
Yeah, it's just, and that is in 2014 that occurs. I've heard such ignorance where I've had people ask me about my own children because of the difference in their skin color. Ignorant.
Like, seriously?
Ignorant. I won't tell you what I told them.
Tell them. Tell me what you told them.
We'll
bleep it out. Can we bleep it out, Tony? We can bleep it out.
We probably can't speak on it on this show, but I did let them know that that was ignorant.
Good. Good.
Even with the so the new Shonda Rhimes show, the murder show, there was a portion of whatever you had me read that said that Viola Davis, which is the young lady who's playing the part,
lead role,
and that she wasn't a classic
beauty, like Kerry Washington
or Halle Berry.
Like Kelly Washington, Kerry Washington or Halle Berry.
Is that insane?
What does that mean?
Well, that means that
I know exactly
you know what it means. Is that
crazy? Are you serious?
But we perpetuate the ignorance too. We give them permission to talk about us like that because of how we talk about ourselves.
Like that.
You know, so whenever you talk about yourself in a derogatory way, then you give permission, the world permission to talk about you and to feel that way about you as well.
So how do we change that?
We change our minds. We have to make the change. You know, we can't expect, it's like you said, we can't expect anyone to change the way they are. They are who they are. One of the things we can say, there's consistency in their behavior. We're the ones that are inconsistent. We need to be more consistent about who we are, and that is loving who we are, knowing who we are, first of all, believing in us as a group, and using examples for economic development, for spiritual development, and for intellectual development. We need to be able to really begin to move on those paths. Let's talk about marriage. We have 2 women here who are married, and we have 2 women here who are divorcees, been married, been there, done that a couple times, and let's talk about marriage. Because who said that you wanted to do?
Hold on, let me.
Well,
nothing but water.
I love the institution of marriage. I think it's a wonderful thing. I'd love to see couples together. I think that partnering together and building families. My son just got married. I'm so happy for him.
Because you have a daughter now.
Yes, I have a daughter-in-law, and they're gonna, they plan on building a family. I won't tell all of your business, but I'd love it. I was married for 13 years. And I'm so happy for these 2 young ladies right here, and their marriages.
So why did you want to talk about marriage, honey?
I just think it's so important for the foundation of our people and who we are. I think that for so long we've only had kind of half the story, and like I said, with 71% of our households only being ran by women, I'm a very strong woman. I have a very strong conviction, strong personality. I'm very assertive, but I'm still very traditional in the sense that I like a man to be a man, and I like a man to run my household. And I believe in that the head of the family is the male. Right. I really do believe in that. I believe in that spiritually. I believe in that socially. I believe in it physically. And I think that it impacts the structure of our families. I know for a fact that a man treats a woman he's dating or dealing with different when he knows that he has to come to that young girl's home and greet her father first. It's a different, it's just a different mindset. And that same thing, when a man knows that your daddy is at home and he had to answer, or even someone who I'm dealing with as an adult woman, when they know I have a husband and that's someone else who they may have to back up to, it's a different persona. When I look at the way my 11-year-old looks at her father and the love and how a father is a young girl's first love. It truly is. And when a young girl doesn't have the opportunity to fall in love for the first time with the man who loves her more than anything in the world, who is her father, then she begins to search for that and find that in anyone and anything that she can.
Well, she actually doesn't find it.
Oh, I said
she keeps searching, but she don't find
it.
She
doesn't necessarily find it. And so for me, this is just my position. I just think that it's very important, and I'll definitely encourage my daughters, not to be just someone's girlfriend or baby mom or whatever, but to find a husband, a man who will take you, give you his name, and you all can build a life together and a family together. I think it's important for our generations and for our community.
I think it's important how you go into a marriage. I think that a lot of folks nowadays go into marriage thinking, well, if it doesn't work, I can leave. And the first time something happens in the marriage or in the relationship, they're out of there. When I talk to people who've been married 40, 50 years, you know that these people went through something those first
yeah.
few, maybe first 10, maybe 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, they've been through something. It wasn't always easy.
Right.
So marriage is not going to be easy.
sailing.
It's just not.
But
It's
wedding life is easy.
well,
I mean, anything that's of great value or accomplishment,
you fight for
what
it.
is easy. I tell
Yeah.
people all the time, now let me tell you, because I have a bunch of girlfriends getting married this year. Let me tell you now, marriage ain't for the weak and timid.
Hello.
I say marriage ain't for punks.
Yeah, it's not for the weak and
Marriage
timid.
is not
So
for
if you
punks.
get married thinking you're getting ready to be on cloud nine in La La Land, that's probably the wrong attitude.
too.
Because it's something you have to stick to and work very hard, and it is not always smooth sailing.
Absolutely.
But it is a value. It has a great value. And so I still think that the same people who walk away from marriage after year 2 because of whatever, those are the same people who quit their business or give up on
and they just say
everything.
Yeah, they,
so
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
you know, you
I
have to
think
commit to it.
counseling before marriage is very important.
I think counseling is
think.
helpful. I think for me, as I got married late in life, so for me, my husband is truly my best friend. Yeah. And when I keep that in mind, because you know your girlfriends, y'all cuss each other out, y'all fight, y'all scream, y'all don't talk for a few weeks, and y'all come back and love each other. Mm-hmm. Every time. Your friendships, you know, we girlfriends, we ride or die. And so my husband is my ride or die. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Good. And there is no other option for me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's why if we need whatever, because you know things come and go. I was listening to somebody, I don't remember who it was, but she was saying, you know, sometimes the romance is great, sometimes the romance is not so great. Sometimes the things of life, kids and business and work and take over. By the time y'all get to bed at night, you go, good night. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Other nights. But that's my friend. That's my best friend. And
there are 2 things I want to talk about then in terms of marriage. Keeping the spark in, because y'all young, keeping the spark in, and infidelity.
What about
Is that a deal breaker? Is infidelity a deal breaker?
For me, no.
For me, I would have to say.
Now.
I think,
look,
you know, no, wait a minute.
Answer.
Infidelity is not a deal breaker for me.
I
need to preface that with
right,
something.
That's what I said.
You got some stipulations on that.
Yeah, no, right, really.
But
There's when there's deceit behind it, number one. Well, infidelity is deceit. Is deceit.
Yeah.
But, you know, for me, if I ask you, have you been I found out. And you going to lie and keep the lie going, don't believe your lying eyes, blah, blah, blah. Then it becomes a whole nother thing.
Right.
You know, now it's more than infidelity.
Right.
It's a whole nother ball game. And I can't deal with that. So you were going to say
It's
that?
a deal breaker.
I was just going to say it's not a deal breaker for me. It is definitely something I would have to consider. I'm not going to say I would stay or I wouldn't stay. It's just not a deal breaker. It would have to depend on the situation. Mm-hmm. I, like you, believe that people don't stay together for 40, 50 years.
Right, without
and things
some stuff.
haven't happened.
Right.
Correct.
And this is just my opinion. I know some women are probably going to gas, but if a little side chick is all you have to deal with through the 30 years for a month or something one time in your marriage, y'all didn't do too bad.
No, really. and a side chick ain't no...
That's being the real truth.
Right, really.
And sometimes...
Wait, let me just say, I know your husbands, that is not saying that y'all need to have a side chick. We are not saying that at all. Y'all need to be real clear.
No, I was going to say, though, that I'm mindful of that because I know many women who have had affairs. Mm-hmm. And I think that oftentimes we talk about infidelity and just assume it's the man that's going to be, you know, step out of the marriage. Mm-hmm. I know many situations where it's the women. Mm-hmm. I think that people are human. I think that feelings change, things change, stress, circumstances, and I think that you have to take that on a case-by-case basis, and that I think that you have to acknowledge that it ain't just about the men and their infidelity. Women do they things too.
But what I have found is that it may be easier for a woman to accept infidelity from her man than it would be from a man to accept infidelity from his woman. Now, and I'm going to have some brothers on at some point, and I'm going to bring this up again with them.
It's even in the context of when like, men can have lots of sexual partners, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the guy, Big Bob. If a woman, then she's the whore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's, you know, that's.
and there's also
within-
this ownership thing that men have for
Yeah,
their
that's
women, for their
mine.
wife. That's mine. That's
That's
my box.
mine.
You don't share, give it
You
to
don't
nobody.
share
That's
what's
mine.
going on. That's-
And I don't know how easy it would be for them to do the forgiving. As a matter of fact, I don't think it would be that easy at all.
I know men who have forgiven their wives for affairs.
You know men?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me names. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I don't know how easy or hard it is. I know of the situations where that's happened.
And that's good.
And I know ones who have not.
So then let's talk about the friendship thing, because you mentioned girlfriends and ride or die, and we fight. And I'm going to defer to my sister here, who is like my ride or die. And we have not spoken for, I mean, I've been upset with her where I'm like, I don't even want to talk to her. And your mom is the same way, and your mother. It's like these are my ride or die sisters, you know, and we have been angry at one another and not spoken, but it's like, it's the pain when you break up with your girlfriend, it's just as devastating as the pain when you break up with your man. It's very, very painful. But one of the things that I always say is that in order to have a friend, you have to be a friend.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to say thank you for being my friend, sis, all these years. And I know we'd be disagreeing on a whole lot of things.
We go at it. But we love one another.
And that's the bottom line, you know.
Yeah.
Wow, our time is up again. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're going to have to do this again. I'm loving this format. I love it. And thank you for joining us. And if you like this, write us and let us know. And you'll see the address and all the information that you have is right here on the board. So thank you so much again. And thank you. And
thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the show today. Fatimah Halim did a great job, and we want to thank her guests as always. And speaking of always, if you'd like to communicate with us, you can still write to us at Focus, P.O. Box 33697, Phoenix, Arizona 85067. Or if you'd like to email us, please email to us at the address that's on the screen. I hope you got all that information off the screen. As always, we want to thank you for joining us today. I know we're going to be back next week with more informative information on Focus. On behalf of Fatimah Halim, Tony Escobar, and myself, Vernon L. Bowling, we want to thank you for joining Focus this week. Look for us next week, same time, same station, when Focus continues.